let's take a look at this. And I think we covered this last time in terms of rounding off. And remember the little trick I showed you about, well, that's significant figures. In terms of rounding off, I want to share with you a couple of things. First of all, you should be able to see a number. And usually the number is in non-exponential notation. So I give you an example here of 987.65432210. It's just a number that is unique in terms of the digits, so that you know exactly what each of the place means when the question is asked. So the 9 is the 100 place, not the 100th, but the 100 place, like 900, 500, 300, okay? Because that's 3 digits to the left of the decimal. So the third place to the left of the decimal is your 100 place. The 8 is your 10 place, not 10th, but 10, like 10, 30, 40, okay? Your 7 is your first place, 1, 9, 8, etc. Now, to the right of the decimal is your 1/10 place. So the 6 is 1/10, right here. 6 is 1/10 because it's 1 digit to the right of the decimal. Your 5 is 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So that's your 100th of a place. That's the 100th of a place. That's because 110 times 110 equals 1/100. And if you put that in your calculator, you will get 0.01, or a digit two places past the decimal. Your 4 is your thousandth, th of a place. So you can see again, that's the vocabulary that we are using in order for you guys to round off your numbers. So when I say round off to the 100th of a place, you're going to look at that decimal and look at the second digit to the right of that, and that's where you're going to start rounding off, because that's what the question is. Okay, so again, this is just defining to you what each of these digits, where each of these digits lie in terms of rounding off. Now, let's take a look at this, and let's say that we have this number and we want to round to the 100 place. So the 100 place is 9. Okay, and so you would write, say, 987. But if you're going to just round off to the 100 place, you're not going to write, say, 987, because 987 would be rounding to the first place. Your leftmost digit that is significant is the magnitude that you're trying to keep. So this right here has a plus. If you have 987, then you're plus or minus 1, because the 7 digit is your uncertainty. So if you're asked to round off to the 100th place, you're going to have to write 900. But you can see that there's an 87 in before that, so you have to round up. So you don't round off to 900, you round off to 1,000, because the 9 has to be bumped up because the 87 is higher than 50. Okay, so I hope that's sort of clear. I know it's confusing because then you don't have the 100 place, you're actually in the 1,000 place, but because you have to round up, you have to keep it that way. Okay, the best way to do this, if you want to show that you're rounding to the 100th of a place, is write, sorry about that. You're going to have to write it this way: 1.0 times 10 to the third. Okay, 1.0 times 10 to the third is rounding off to the 100th place, because whenever you write a number in exponential notation, all the numbers before the exponent are significant. So that means the significant digits here is the 1 and the 0, and the 0 is in the 100 place. Okay, it's the 100 place. You would write this, but this, according to the exponential notation, is significant, and that's where you're rounding off. So to write this number correctly, rounding off to the 100 place, you would actually write 1.0 times 10 to the third. The 0 here is the 100th place. Okay. Now let's say what we're trying to round this number to the 10th place. Well, the 10th place is this digit right here. We're still keeping the integrity of the number. You can't just say, oh, it's 90, because 90 is not 987. It doesn't even come close to that. Yeah, 90 is to the 10th place, but then you lose the 987 information. So if the question is to round this to the 10th place, then you have to keep the 9 and the 8, but there's a 7 here, so you have to bump it up again. You have to round up. So the correct answer would be 990. And again, you can see that the 9 and the 9 are significant, but the rightmost digit is to the 10th place. And that's how you would round that to the 10th place. Rounding to the first place, that's, again, easy, 987. But you have to look at one digit past that as to whether you're going to round up or round down. Because if you just keep 987, yeah, that's to the first place. But the next digit after that is 6. And 6 is above the halfway point. So you can't just say 987, you have to say 988. Okay? Because you have to round that up. Because you're always looking at the next digit over from where you're rounding off as to whether you have to round up or stay. And in this particular case, because that 6 is above 5, you have to convert that 7 to an 8. Okay? Once you get it, you get it. But when you're learning it, it kind of is like a little bit confusing. Okay? So let's say that we want to round off now to the 100th of a place. I mean, the 10th of a place. 10th of a place is right here, the 6. So you're going to keep 987.6, but then you're going to look at the digits right after the 6 to see whether you round up or stay. Well, the digits right after the 6 is 5432. 5432 is above the halfway point. So you're going to have to round that 6 to a 7. Okay? You're going to have to round that 6 to a 7. So the correct answer in this particular case would be 987.7. 987.7. Again, because you got to round up your 6 to a 7 because the digits after that is above the halfway point. So I hope that's certainly clear. Now, let me clear this up real quick. Okay. Let's say that we're rounding off to the 100th. The 100th is 2 digits past the decimal. And in this particular case, it's 987.65. And then the digit after that 100th of a place is 4. Well, 4 is below the halfway mark. So you're just going to keep the 5 as is. Okay, you're going to keep the 5 as is, and you're just going to write it as 987.65. Round it off to the 100th of a place. Okay, so when it says round off to the 100th, you got to keep all the numbers in front because it tells you the size of the number. But where you're rounding it off tells you the degree of precision, how fine your measurements are. That's your rightmost digit. Now, suppose I have a number like 987.65, and let's say that this is 500. Okay, that's the number. And it asks, round this number to the 100th of a place. So you look over here, this is the 100th of a place right there. Okay, and you look at the digits to the right of that. Well, 500 is exactly halfway of the scheme between 0 and 9. So do we round up or do we stay? If you're going to round up to an even number, then you round up. If you're going to round up to an odd number, then you stay. Okay, so only round up when you're at 500, when you're exactly on the midway point. If this was 501, 501's above the midway point, you round up no matter what. If this was, let me do this. Erase. If this was 499, 499 is below the halfway, you stay. But if it's exactly at 500, right in the middle, then you use this rule. Round up if it turns to an even digit. Stay if it turns to an odd digit. And why do we do that? We do that because if you're at 500 and you're always rounding up, then your numbers are going to be biased towards rounding up. Okay? All the time when you're in the halfway point, you're rounding up. There should be half the time you round up, half the time you stay. And so that's the rule. You only round up, again, when you're exactly at the halfway mark here, you only round up. And it only applies when you're exactly at the halfway mark. Oops. Okay, this right here, you're looking at this digit and you're deciding whether to round up or stay. You need to look at the digits to the right of that, and that'll decide. To the right of that, it's 500. It's exactly in the halfway mark. 499 is below, 501 is above. Okay, you don't just look at the right digit, you look at the entire number down that sequence, the entire number down that sequence, and that'll tell you whether it's halfway, above, or below. Now, if you're going to round to an even, then you round up. If you're going to round to an odd, you stay. That way, there is no bias as to whether you're always rounding up or always staying. You're doing it half the time. So I hope that's clear, because that's an important rule that a lot of people don't know. And I teach a class called Analytical, where we do a lot of number crunching. And this is one of the fundamental rules. Okay, so hopefully this gives you an idea of the place of rounding off. Now we can take a look at this question in your activity. And the 10th place is right here. That 4 is the 10th place. Okay, it's 1 digit past. The 1000th place is 3 digits over. That would be the 0. The 10th of a place again would be the 1. Doesn't matter what the number is. You're just looking at the digits to the right of the decimal. If you're looking at the 10th, the 100th, the 1000th, the 10,000th, it's always the digits to the right of the decimal. That is where you're going to decide whether to keep or go up, but you're going to truncate it there. Okay, you're going to end it there. So let's take this example right here. We're going to round off to the 100th. So that would be the 3. And you can see that digit right there is 499. So that's below the halfway. This answer would be 46.33. That would be rounding that number 46.33499 to the 100th of a place. Take a look at this. Round this to the 100th of a place. Again, that would be the 3. 501 is above the halfway mark, so I would write this as 46.34. Why? Because the 501 is above the halfway mark. So when I'm rounding off to the 100th, I got to bump that up. How about this? Round off to the 100th of a place right here. That's exactly to the halfway point. But I'm rounding to an even number. So I would write this as 46.34 because I'm rounding off to an even number. How about this next question? Round off to the 100th of a place. This is a 2. And this again is 500. 500 is the halfway mark. But if I convert 2 to a 3, I'm going to an odd number. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to keep it as 46.32 on that. So I hope that's sort of clear in terms of rules of rounding off. 100th of a place, 2 digits over, that's the 5. 10,000, 1,000 is 3 places, 10,000th would be the 4th place. Okay, so again, what you want to do is you want to take a look at these digits right here. Like, let's take this example. You're going to write 482.45, and then you're going to decide whether the 0 should stay a 0 or a 1. Look at the digits right after that. You can see that 6 is above 5. You better round that up to 1. And that would be the correct answer in terms of rounding off. Who would have known that rounding off was such a complicated matter, okay? But once you get it, then it comes as second nature. It becomes second nature in terms of these things.